Good day, everybody. Is the audio working? Perfect. I'm gonna have to deal with it seems, a barrage of friends invites. I'm waiting for a bit of technical assistance here because my buddy who's assisting here is decided to go to the bathroom for pee break. I see he's back. Okay, we're good to go. I guess we're good to go. We need to remove the sign. Who's removing the sign? Should I just do it myself? There we go. Well, everybody, welcome to my presentation. This is my one-to-one painting class. I'm glad everybody showed up for this. I wasn't entirely sure how to do this today, so I figured that we're going to be talking about colors. And I think colors is a very interesting topic that we're discussing here today. So just to go into this a little bit more clearly. Oh, wait a minute, Kendrick, is this the right presentation? I have a feeling it's not, right? Um, what am I supposed to talking about here? Oh, is that what we're going to do? Talking about painting happy clouds and happy trees. Anyways, I want to welcome everybody. Joking aside, I just want to introduce myself a little bit. I think most of you have at some point heard of me or seen me before. I'm the lead developer on Classic as well as on RLC Mate. Today I will be specifically talking about the Classic development. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We'll be talking about the Classic development, luckily, right? It has been very quiet lately on the development. I know this. It really hasn't been going in the sense that we have been putting out a lot of patches lately. And and I want to get this straight out of the way. And this is due to a few reasons. One of the main reasons that we have struggled with since I started working here has been the migration of the database as well as the network. This has been an ongoing process. It's still ongoing, and it has almost hit near 1.5 years of progress. There have been a whole lot of ups and downs, and to be frank, it took a lot longer and a lot more effort than we initially realized that it would take. The simple truth is that everything is pretty much intertwined. The way the old development team handled this was by integrating and making it a hybrid system. And this hybrid system basically means that if we wanted to move the network, we had to move everything at once. But you can imagine having to move several servers and several other pieces of hardware, such as routers, such as switches, isn't really a thing you move in one go. So we had spent a whole lot of time, and that's where most of the time has gone into lately, in trying to separate all these things out, making them independent pieces, and allowing us to start migrating them one by one. This is, I would say now, for 60% complete. And part of the completion at the moment, the main thing that we still need to move, and I don't think this will tell anybody here much, but the main thing that we still have to move is the domain controller, which is basically the thing that controls a whole set of permissions and all these kind of things in order for us to access the network, as well as how servers are communicating with each other. This is the last major piece that we have to work on. And this is just going to take a little bit more time. That said, we also have another developer on staff who has been hard at work trying to rework and rebuild the world server, which is another big piece, which is the piece that connects our infrastructure when you're playing the client, such as what you all are doing, connecting it to the world server, and the world server connects it to all the other clients. This is what allows you to basically communicate and see each other in the same room. This again was not built in a way that it was migratable, upgradable, or separatable. So that's where a lot of the effort as well went into. This meant that major patches haven't happened in a while. But I'm glad to say that the majority of the work on the world server is done, and we can start going back and focusing on doing actual content patches. In these patches, which we are going to be doing one relatively soon, within the next 1 or 2 weeks, if everything goes to schedule, we will be introducing a few small tidbits of new content. Some of this new content will be new animations, specifically animations on the animated textures. Yeah, I know. I just picked a lava ball and added a few new options of flames. So we can set things better on fire, I guess. Everything has been set on fire, hasn't it? You are all making me hungry already. Now I feel like I want to have a pizza. Maybe I should have started with the introduction of 101 pizzas, right? Pizza baking. An ice cream pizza. That sounds like an interesting idea. The content patch that is going to come up is going to have these few animated textures. Another major thing that we are working on, and this has been a request as well. I don't know if this is going to make it into the next patch, but we are again working on casino games and figuring out how to make them operate. This might take a while before this goes into a content patch, though. But as you can see, we have spinning animations now rather than a menu you had to click on in order to open a browser window and then go to a third-party website in order for you to interact with this. I am pretty, yeah, well, I'm always usually the micro, so I like to be a micro character. Probably should have gone bigger there. But the machine is pretty much normal standard avatar height. Talking about spinning, and I can show this off as well, I guess, which would be the next thing. And This might get the ambassadors here excited because they recently requested this. And I can safe to say that this is working now. It's syncing across the network. It basically means that everybody is going to see the same results. And eventually it should land on a number. And as Snake has said and suggested there, it's up in quality assurance, and you can go there and test it and play around with it. And of course, we could imagine this wheel being used for a lot of different things. I could, for example, well, maybe I should ask you guys, what do you guys think we should put on this wheel? Because I still have to make a standard basic texture for it. Should we put rays on it, or should we have other ideas for this? What would you guys put on it? Sex moves. That's an interesting one. Pretty much all these things that you guys are already mentioning there are going to be possible. Matter of fact, just change the texture and then you can do all these things. Actually thinking it might actually work with a bottle, to be honest. I haven't tried it, but it might actually work with a bottle prop. Actually curious to try that now. Maybe I'll go to QA later today and create a bottle prop and check if it works. But I'm pretty sure it works. Yeah, I really can't wait. This is the thing. I know you guys have seen these previous patches that we've done, and one of the things that is always exciting me, at least, when we come up with all this functionality and these ideas on how to do new things and how to do new scripts and how to do methods in the game for people to do new entertainment. I always like the fact that you guys come up with ideas that we haven't thought of on how to use such things. Yes, you can make smaller sections. It's one big texture basically, but you could make it multiple um, multiple well, less wedges, I guess, than the ones I put on there. Let me read up what everybody said here. Darts game would be nice. Yes, the darts game would be nice, but that would be more tricky to get accomplished. I think more logical next step would probably be dice. I think I like the idea of being able to throw a pair of dice and then perhaps announce it to the chat so everybody sees what you rolled. Yeah, there's a few useless dice tables in the game. And while we're talking about it, I can probably quickly show off the Wheel of Fortune, the prop itself, so you guys have a bit of an idea how the prop looks. So this would be the prop. I probably could make it 3D as well, but at the moment I made a 2D wheel of it. I was experimenting a little bit of other wedges that we could put on there. So this would be the possibility for us to. This is basically the way when we have to create new props. How I kind of iterate on ideas. I just start putting them in here, and then we come up with the eventual texture that we're going to embed into the prop itself. Yep. Other than that, I know there's a whole lot of questions, and I should also specifically mention that we have this submission form where people can submit ideas for future patches. And I read this regularly. So it's not that anything put in there is never being read. I constantly read it. And I do see also a lot of the same requests over and over. And I specifically want to address a couple of small things today. One thing that keeps coming up is animations, specifically new sex animations. This has, I mean, it's not impossible. I finally figured out, because nobody was there to teach me. I should say thank you to the previous presenter Tony, about teaching me the ropes in terms of how this system used to work and trying to figure out how animations work. It's a long process. It's a very tedious process. This is one of the reasons, and I know this is specifically today focused about the old game, about what we're here for. But this is one of the reasons why we're trying new software. The animations specifically are very hard to do, very difficult to do, and they take a long time to do. I have managed to do a new set idle animation specifically for meditation, which probably has taken me 5 to 6 days just to map out the coordinates and trying to get a new animation in. If I had to do this for sex, this would probably be double the work, if not more, to align two characters, right? And this has been the major problem that we basically have with this old system, is that it's really tedious, really long hours, and it's really difficult to justify working so many hours on this. This is why, in terms of animations, it's going to be probably a long while before we can actually do new animations. It's not that I don't want to do them. I would love to add them, and it's one of my own really wants, but I just don't have the time to spend that many hours on trying to get these to work. We have been looking for someone to maybe do these for us, but again, it needs a lot of skill. There's a lot of little details. There's a lot of training that needs to be done in order for somebody to be able to do this. I know. Even something like lying on a bed is a lot of work to make this happen. Right. And I haven't even gone into that part, the coding part specifically. So this is more the art side, right? This is more of making the animation, the file, and then putting it in a place where we can download and put it and load it. The coding part is a whole different beast. And you're very right to mention that in order for us um, to load an animation, we have to add it to the animation pipeline, which also needs specific coding parts in order for it to trigger. So these things need to be thought of as well. So it's not like just the animation and just the artwork that needs to be completed. There's also the whole process of how do we want to implement this? How are we going to add this to the animation pipeline? Which I can also tell you has been very messy. So the way it's handled means any little change we make in order to add a new animation is really tricky not to mess up everything else. And I don't know if many of you know this, but we used to have um, triple bots which were able to do sex animations with. So licensed decorators, I think, used to have this, and they could set up a specific trio of bots to have sex. This doesn't work anymore because of the whole hierarchy of animations has been messed up, where specifically those animations can't load on the bots. So there's a whole lot of things we have to think about when we are talking about specifically animations. Let's move on to a little bit of a lighter thing, I guess, than specifically this topic. Web development. I know there has been quite a few changes regarding web. I think most of you guys have seen the new event system, the new directory, um, the new um, the new websites that we're revamping, such as the corporate website, has been changed and updated. And basically, when it comes to the social center, we are tackling the social center in parts. So what we're doing is that we're taking a specific part of the social center and we're trying to upgrade that part. Again, you haven't seen much changes here because one of the things we had been working on is the clothing website. So there's going to be changes to the clothing websites upcoming at some point in the future. Specifically how clothing is managed and how clothing is uploaded uh, for clothing designers. I uh, Jimmy, what you're asking here has nothing to do with the legacy. That will be answered in a by a different meeting probably. Now that I've kind of gone through the presentation and what I kind of wanted to show you guys off, I want to open this up for questions. I do know there has been a request, but I can't tell specifically. I know there's a request going on about the Welcome Center to change the Welcome Center occasionally to a different region. And I think this request already is somewhere being processed. The next patch is probably scheduled within the next 2 weeks. It's going to be a micro patch, so it's going to specifically address mostly this animation that I showed off, the new fire animations, as well as the Wheel of Fortune. Um, Also, probably the slot machines you could set up yourself, but they wouldn't be completely functional. What they would be is more or less a nice gimmick. Yeah, the prop events. I can. That's an interesting one. The prop events, the prop hunts that I did. I don't know if anybody were there at the time. Um, they were really fun, but they're also a lot of work. I have been doing in my spare time when I have a little bit of off time. I usually go into the legacy game and I've been setting up a new prop hunt. I would say I got it completed for now about 70 to 80%. So whenever I complete it and whenever I get a chance to do this, I will probably just push it and we'll do this prop hunt again. I already have about 70 to 80 new props for this. So all that is kind of set up, and I already designed a new prop hunt transport. And I think I already have about 6 or 7 puzzles finished. No. Prop hunt, the props go out to everyone once at least if you guys unlock them, right? You have to, they have to be found. So, right. And I should also thank some people when it comes to these prop hunts in the past. They always have helped me. It's not a single person activity, but it is just a lot of work. What do you mean with a test area specifically? What would you want to see in a test area? To see what being made. So they're working on the. Uh, I think I haven't tested the spinning bottle thing, but it should probably work. I yeah, I didn't think about spinning bottles, but I honestly can't see any single reason why it wouldn't work. Oh, when it comes to the patches and how to use things, usually what happens is that I try and put the patch notes up on the official website on the news section, um, and usually I put the notes in how the function works, and usually a member of the community comes up with a forum post how to use them, and usually that ends up on the wiki, and then from there. I mean, that's something I can't do, right? I mean, I could do it, but I would spend a lot of time on that. And you guys are way better at explaining and doing these things and iterating these things than I could. SWF, well, yeah, that gave us kind of nightmares because when Adobe decided that they were no longer supporting Flash, um, I'm sure everybody here knows this. That has been quite of a nightmare for us because we had to, in a very short amount of time, we had to phase this out and make sure that everything kept working. And that's also one of the reasons why the new browser is in the game. And I think so far it has been performing way better than Adobe ever did. Um, script not props. Right. I think the way it worked is that if you still have an SWF file on there, it just simply doesn't load. So the reason why we did that is to make sure that your link wouldn't be lost to it, so you still would be able to know that it's there. But also, we didn't just want to delete all the props that people have made over the years. So it would be easier for people to fix this. And this is nothing that Utherverse or myself could do anything about. Adobe simply stopped supporting their own product, and they phased it completely out, which removed it from everybody's computer via Microsoft. So anybody who took a Windows update would automatically have um, Flash removed from their computer. So even if we allowed and let the Flash application exist in our game, you still wouldn't be able to use it, and it would crash you out. Pretty much. And it's actually, I really like the fact that somebody brought up the photo bucket fiasco. Usually it's referred to by myself as photo fuck it, because I don't know how many times in my life I had to go over the code or go over several of my own properties in order to um, fix my own textures. Yes, we added AutoBucket, um, which has a very limited, I think it's 512 megabytes, which is probably not the biggest bucket out there. But what I can tell you guys, and that's something we have been working on for a long time now, we have come up with a plan um, to make AutoBucket migrate to an actual um, endless server where we can put as many files as we want onto, which means that at some point in the future, we will have the ability for you guys to create your own buckets within this system and upload as many textures as you want. We might even go as far as limiting that any texture in game needs to come from specifically that application. That way, even if somebody leaves, or even if a website is third party hosting this, it will never break the game again, right? That's one of the reasons why we have been so long and so hard thinking about how are we going to solve this for the long term, because I cannot imagine anything worse than constantly having to upgrade and um, fix your deco. No, that's exactly the reason why I'm saying why we want to expand this. So even if the decorator leaves the game, it will not remove the texture, right? It will stay intact. People might not be able to edit the texture because it might only be the rights for that decorator to edit it or change it, but it would still keep coexisting. Yeah, I know. And I understand that that has been very much a frustrating thing. But again, it's not as easy as everybody might think to set up a system that is scalable and expandable and also has the right protection, right? Because this is one of the things that would also become a issue, is that who can access my textures, right? Because I can imagine there might be people who decorate for fun, but there might also be people who decorate for business. And when you decorate for business, you might not want your textures to be taken and reused everywhere, right? So we need to come up with best practices in order for us to really think of how we're going to make sure that this keeps working and doesn't cause issues. Yeah, Otterbucket is kind of like our intermediate solution for this at the moment. And again, a better solution will be coming in the future. And it most likely will come out at the same time, if not a little bit sooner, as it would be in the new product, because they're pretty much going to be the same thing, or going to be using the same thing. There's no real need to watermark anything. I don't think there is a real need to watermark anything because there's not going to be, well, I mean, this is something we still have to decide, right? Like, will we do this as a URL like you're traditionally used to, or will we do this in a way where um, you won't actually have a URL and you can get the option in the cached web script saying hide my URL if transferred to somebody else. Like this could simply be an option. And if that's the case, if that option is marked, then anybody opening that texture would not be able to see what's actually in there. So the only thing they could do is take out the placeholder URL or insert their own URL, right, to change whatever the texture is. When it comes to watermarking, I'm not directly a fan of this, right? Because watermarking has also negative impact on things. And exactly, I don't think anybody here wants to see Utherverse on every texture that they add. Copyrights is still going to be handled the same as it always has, right? So people will submit a DMCA and WorldOps will act on that. So it doesn't really change. But again, I don't think there will be a need for watermarking. I think we'll have solutions where watermarking isn't going to be needed. We will be able to basically, WorldOps will be able to trace who the original owner of textures and such is. So there's going to be ways to for us to track and track what's happening with these things. But again, I should be saying these are things that are a little bit further out. They need a lot of thought. They need a lot of thinking. These are not decisions we make overnight. They also need a lot of infrastructure. With infrastructure is always expensive, so we always have to make sure that when we add infrastructure, that we can run it for a long time and can also still afford it on the long term, right? Because imagine if we uploading 1 million images per day, right? That might require a whole different setup than if we have 1,000 images a day. But again, if it ever happens that we get that many images uploaded, then we still need to be able to scale to such a thing. I will say, however, and this is something you guys are probably familiar with if you have ever done any clothing design. When it comes to clothing design, when you have to add your texture, you have to pay a single ray in order for us to upload that texture. The same is probably going to be true for uploading deco textures in the future. And this simply is to counterbalance the cost for us to host and store that image. Right, that's kind of the idea, right? The problem with PhotoBucket is pretty much as a third party, so if they change something, then we can't fix it. Of course, there's always the option to, as suggested there, to do your own website and host it yourself. But I have seen today, there's a few people in the convention who did that. And on my end, the images look broken. So I don't know if anybody else experienced that. Are there any other questions not related to Deco though? Because I think I covered this pretty much. Oh, I can talk about this a little bit as well. I'm actually not entirely sure if this going into the next patch or the patch after, but we also revamped the properties tab where it's going to be possible for you guys to actually search for properties. So when you basically when you open your properties tab and you see all the properties of other people, then you can go to another tab and there is a search tab, and then you can filter on a word or a phrase, or and then it'll pop up all the results that are in that list, so you don't have to scroll through an endless list of properties. This patch will be out in if everything goes to plan, it will be out in the next week or two. It sort of exists, and since the last patch, you can group properties. But this time, I'm actually talking about filtering, right? So what I mean is, you can type in a phrase or word, and then it'll filter out all the properties that are part have that word contained in it, or part of that word contained in it. RLC Classic is never, or Utherverse Classic is never ever going away. In fact, if it's anything up to me, it's going to be part of the new system as well. But more details on that will follow in the future. Yes, the same way as it works on searching for a script in a prop editor. No, because there's no OBG or FBX files used in anywhere in Utherverse. So there's no point in us adding a mechanism for uploading this. As for seeing other people in both worlds, that's I don't know. I can't answer that question because I simply don't know. I would love to make that work, but I don't know if we're gonna be able to. No, well, there's one specific thing I want to change when it comes to house rules, um, or I guess the rule section on the website. One of the things that always bugged me, and I don't know if anybody else has ever been bugged by this, but um, when you are adding a person, when you want to give a person a specific permission, say you want to give a bouncer the ability to boot people from your property, one of the more annoying things has always been the list feature, right? You have to first create a list and then you have to add the name of that person to the list. And then once you have done that, then you can um, add the rule for that specific list, and then it will apply for those people. However, one of the more difficult things has always been the fact that people create a list and they name it after the person they want to give access to, but they don't actually add the person to the list. I know this has been very frustrating for tech support specifically, because the list would be empty, and then somebody would still not be able to deco or no. There, I can explain a little bit about the prop making. We are using a software, a very old software is being used in order to make props, and this software is licensed at 100K in US dollars per developer. So the only way to obtain this license is to deal with this company um, that gives out these licenses, and you would have to pay this amount in order for you to get the program to make props or to create props. And this is the reason why it's simply impossible for us to give. You can imagine if we have to give everybody in this room who wants to make props a license, we'd be bankrupt in less than a half an hour. Old zombies will stay. We're not removing anything. Well, I don't know what the solution to it is, but I'm going to guess that one of the more simple solutions to the list problem is by giving a warning like, okay, you created a list. There is nobody on this list. Please add a somebody to this list in big red letters next to the list. I'm just giving an idea here. I don't know if that's going to be the solution, but this might simply be the solution. There have been new properties. There have been, in the last year, I think there have been 6 new properties added to the game. I know one specifically that I created about a year ago. Well, no, I think about half a year ago for for people who have reached the 15 years loyalty back. And I think that the property is actually called Tits. So, oh, Boo Belly, that's it. Right. That's the one that I added. I will probably add a few more properties. Like it takes a little bit of time, but these are at least possible for us to make. We have someone on the team who can make them if we need to. Sure, we can. I know we have been discussing this internally to change up what's actually in the catalog from time to time. So the idea is maybe that we have quite a few other properties available. So I know, for example, the root properties aren't for sale anymore because root has been dissolved. But it might simply be possible for us to release these into the catalog, and perhaps also maybe to make it a little bit more exclusive, add a few other properties from business or something. I think everybody has to look very nicely over there to Mr. Unicorn and ask her which one she has to add to the catalog. Or just send her PMs. That way I don't have to deal with it. Yeah, I know they're still being sold, but you can't really. Put you on the spot there, didn't I? Yeah, I just wanted to see how many PMs you could get in a second. It's going to be funny, I think. Anyways, I'm not saying we're going to be releasing a whole lot of new properties, but I'm sure we can add a couple to the catalog for people to buy. I don't think that's a big issue. And it might actually refresh the catalog a little bit as well. And I do think, but I can't remember this, but I think a year ago or 2 years ago now, we also lowered the prices of a whole lot of the properties. So a lot more properties are being sold. So it's good to see a little bit more variety now. Stairs, well, stairs is an issue in itself. I mean, I put a very well written guide on the wiki, and maybe there's a few if you read that guide, there's a few hidden specific quirks that deal with the way stairs work. So for anybody who has a keen eye, if you might be able to spot why your stair doesn't work. I can't really go into the specifics here. Because the problem when it comes to the specifics is that there's so many of them, and I don't know exactly what everybody's specific issue is with stairs. But one of the things, and I think this might be a revelation for some of you, one of the things that I, in 99% of the cases, see being fucked up when it comes to making stairs is that when you create stairs, the prop that you create the stairs with, as well as the landing floor, as well as the landing prop, so whichever the elevation is, if you scale them, right? If you scale these ramps bigger than 1.5 in whatever axis, they will stop functioning. They might work, but because of the scaling, the collider isn't really working properly. So a good idea in terms of when it comes to building stairs is to use a prop that is either large for if you want to build a really large ramp, such as what's it called? The water surface, I think. Or a very small one if you want a small ramp, such as the plane 01, or even if you want to go smaller, I think it was the flat plane. And using these three specific props makes it a lot easier to build stairs consistently and accurately. And I know most of the times when I inspect or when somebody asks me what's wrong with stairs, that's usually the case. Anyways, I think I'm getting private messages that I think it's going to be the ending here. So I don't know the exact dimensions of the cube, but it's for sure not 1 by 1 centimeter. The cube is definitely not. It might actually be 1 by 1 meter, but I honestly don't think that's the case. Anyways, I hope this was a bit of informative for everybody. I know I'm going to be talking again on Sunday, specifically on the new RLC Mate development, which I'm also part of. I hope to see some of you again. I thank you all for listening to me, for blabbing about paint and about happy trees. And I hope to see you guys very soon again. Bye bye for now.